The galactic capital was the shining heart of the known universe, a city so vast that entire planets could fit within its sprawl. Its towers rose like blades of crystal, shimmering under the light of 3 suns. From every corner of the empire, citizens gathered there, creatures of every shape, color, and kind. They had come to witness the arrival of the newest species to join the Galactic Council. Rumors had spread faster than the ships themselves. The humans were coming, a young species, from a small blue world near the edge of the spiral arm. They had burst onto the interstellar stage with strange technology, unorthodox diplomacy, and a reputation for unpredictability. The council had spent weeks preparing for their arrival. Protocols were reviewed, translators updated, and security doubled. Every delegate expected the same thing: chaos. When the first human ship entered orbit, the city paused. Traffic slowed, news drones filled the sky, and the enormous arrival hall began to buzz with tension. The Emperor himself sat high upon his golden dais, draped in threads that shimmered like molten light. Around him stood the leaders of 100 species, each representing centuries of culture and order. And then, the humans arrived. Their ship was small compared to the fleets of the Empire, shaped not for elegance but for practicality. It descended quietly, without the flourish of banners or the trumpeting of arrival horns. A ramp extended, and out walked a group of 6 humans. 2 men, 4 women, all wearing simple black uniforms with no decoration except a small blue emblem over their hearts. The hall fell silent. Even the Emperor's tail flicked nervously against the marble floor. The entire chamber seemed to hold its breath. Everyone expected drama, fear, awe, trembling reverence before the greatest city in the galaxy. But the humans didn't look impressed. The first man looked around, squinting up at the glittering arches and towering spires, then said quietly, "Looks like a big airport." The words rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. The translation system struggled to interpret the tone. Was that admiration, insult? No one could tell. The humans walked calmly forward. Their steps echoed on the marble as though they owned the place. The Emperor's guards tensed, unsure whether to bow or block their path. But the humans didn't hesitate. They didn't even look nervous, they just walked. One alien diplomat whispered to another, "They don't seem frightened." "Maybe they hide it well," the other replied. But the humans weren't hiding anything. They genuinely didn't seem to care that they were standing in the most powerful city of the known universe. When they reached the Emperor, they stopped. The leader of the group, a woman with brown hair tied neatly behind her head, gave a polite nod. "Thank you for the invitation," she said. "We're honored to be here." Her tone was calm, respectful, but not submissive. The Emperor inclined his head slightly, his golden eyes studying her. "You are welcome, human envoy. The Empire has long awaited your arrival. We hope you find our capital worthy of your attention." The woman smiled faintly. "It's very impressive," she said. Though, to be honest, the journey here was the interesting part. That response was another shock. Most species, when first meeting the Emperor, spoke with rehearsed speeches or flowery flattery. Humans simply gave a polite answer and moved on. The ceremony continued awkwardly at first. The Emperor introduced them to the other delegates, tall feathered beings from the Western Arm, small crystalline entities from the ice worlds, creatures made of living mist who spoke through vibration. Each introduced themselves with ancient titles and phrases that had been used for millennia. The humans listened patiently, shook hands when offered, and smiled when smiled at, but they didn't bow. Not once. By the time the introductions ended, confusion had begun to spread. The humans were normal, too normal. There was no grand speech, no declaration of alliance, no trembling before the glory of the Empire. They were polite but distant, observant but calm. Later, during the reception, the humans were given a tour of the city. The guide, a tall being with translucent skin, pointed out the ancient towers, the temples of the stars, and the grand markets where goods from across the galaxy could be found. The humans listened, nodded, and occasionally asked questions, but their questions were never about the beauty or the history. Instead, they asked things like, "How does the power grid handle 3 suns?" Or "How long does it take to commute from the outer districts?" The guide was baffled. "You mean transportation, commute? That is not usually what interests new species." One of the humans shrugged. "Infrastructure tells you more about a civilization than monuments do." Word of their indifference spread quickly. News drones followed them everywhere, broadcasting live feeds to trillions of screens. The commentators tried to make sense of it. Perhaps the humans are hiding their fear, said one analyst. No, another argued. They're genuinely unimpressed. Look at their body language. They treat the Empire as if it's just another city. Within hours, the phrase human apathy began trending across the galaxy. Meanwhile, the humans continued their tour. They visited the grand libraries, the energy hubs, and even the Emperor's private garden. They asked simple, practical questions. They compared notes quietly, took photos, and shared quiet jokes among themselves. When they reached the observation deck overlooking the entire capital, one of them pulled out a small handheld device. The others gathered around. The alien guards leaned closer, curious. What is that? One asked. A tablet, replied the human. We're just checking the latest news from Earth. News? Even now? Of course. Our planet doesn't stop just because we're on another one. The aliens stared in disbelief. Every other species, when visiting the capital, treated it as a sacred moment in history. Humans treated it like a business trip. Later that evening, during the formal dinner, the Emperor decided to test them. He leaned forward and said, Tell me, humans, what do you think of the Empire's power? We have ruled for 10,000 years. We command the stars themselves. Do you find that intimidating? The human leader set down her fork. It's impressive, she said honestly, but power doesn't last forever. History has a habit of humbling everyone. The room went silent again. The Emperor's advisors stiffened, unsure if it was an insult. But the Emperor only smiled slowly. You speak boldly. Not boldly, she said. Just truthfully. That night, as they returned to their quarters, the humans received a message from their ship in orbit. The Empire had granted them limited access to the local network. They spent hours studying it, not for entertainment, but for data, trade routes, resource distribution, population statistics. They weren't here to admire. They were learning. The next morning, they requested to meet the Council of Science. The scientists were eager, expecting the humans to beg for technology or marvel at the wonders of the galaxy. Instead, the humans began sharing data of their own, medical advancements, renewable energy designs, efficient transport models, even agricultural systems designed to work on barren planets. One alien scientist, confused, asked, Why would you share this freely? Because cooperation works better than competition, one of the humans replied. And besides, someone has to clean up the galaxy. The scientists were left speechless. Over the following days, the humans continued to behave in ways no one expected. They didn't act superior, but they also didn't act small. They spoke to the galaxy's leaders as equals, questioned things others took for granted, and treated even the Emperor like just another person. They laughed often. Too genuine laughter, loud and unrestrained. To many of the older species, laughter was rare, reserved only for private moments. But the humans laughed at misunderstandings, at odd translations, at the strangeness of the universe itself. When one alien asked why they laughed so easily, a human replied, Because the universe is too big to take seriously all the time. That line spread across the networks like fire. Within days, it became one of the most quoted human phrases in the galaxy. The Empire began to realize something strange. The humans weren't trying to conquer or impress anyone. They simply existed without fear. And that was what made them unsettling. The Emperor watched this quietly. For centuries, he had met species that either bowed before him or tried to challenge his power. But humans did neither. They walked beside it as if it were just another fact of life. After a week, the humans were invited to speak before the full council. The grand chamber filled with trillions of live viewers. The Emperor opened the session. Humans of Earth, he said, you have seen our capital, our culture, our might. What do you wish from the Empire? The human leader looked around the hall. Nothing, she said. We didn't come to ask for favors. We came to understand how the galaxy works, and how we can fit into it without repeating old mistakes. The hall murmured in confusion. Old mistakes? She nodded. Every civilization thinks it will last forever. Every empire thinks it's special. We thought that once too on Earth. We built nations, we fought wars, we thought the sky was ours. Then we realized the universe doesn't care, so we learned to care for ourselves, to build, to adapt, to move forward. That's why we're here. Her words hung in the air like soft thunder. The Emperor leaned forward. And what do you think of the Empire now that you've seen it? She smiled slightly. You've built something beautiful, but beauty without purpose fades. We'd like to help make sure it doesn't. The CH.